So today I want to speak about how do you know when God is calling you, or how do you know you get a calling from God? I'll see you after this intro. Welcome, my name's Em. I'm from Karnak Holistics, where we learn together and we grow together in the sight of God. So today I want to speak about how do you know if you had a calling from God. Now, there is many ways I can look at this, and I'm going to speak from my own examples, and I would refer to some people I know who we've had conversations who has had that touch from God and been called to God or to serve God. Now, the first thing is there's many ways or many versions of why God calls you and why he wants you to serve him in the way your life is panning out. This can be from day dot, when you are born, to when you hit your teens, or when you're even quite young, or even in school, or as you get into your later teens, or even into adulthood. I don't know if you've heard the saying is that many people are called but they're chosen of you. Now, it doesn't mean that you have like special privilege or you're far more important, because we all serve God in different ways. But what I want people to understand is that many people, if you look at lifetimes, if you believe in reincarnation, many people come back over a period of times and they learn different things as they grow. So it's kind of like graduation. Each year, each lifetime is each year. So as they graduate, going through several lives, they may arrive in this life and then have that calling. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way is that you may just be there, and there's other ways of looking at it. So there could be ways that you may just be, you may be someone is there to support somebody who has the calling to do his work, or you may be someone is being called to be a pinnacle pillar within the community to do his bidding or his work. So how does this work out? Now, when I say about this pillar in life, I'll start later on about something called breadcrumbs, and I'll refer back to that a bit later on. But what I want to do is speak about the different facets of different things you could do. So, for example, you may be called into a particular house, I'll call them, or particular ways of belief, or a faith, all the same thing. So you may be chosen to go into Islam, into Christianity, into COE, into Buddhism, into Hindu, into to be a Sikh, or to be a pastor, or pastor, I should say. And it crosses all boundaries. So it depends on what God and where he's placed you and what you need to do. So you be graduating within, or be called to, I should say, going into that particular industry. Now, let me just make it kind of clear here, because I know some people who are born Catholic, but then their calling, they felt, was called into join Islam, or to be a Hindu, or to be Buddhist. That's not a problem, because it's like a journey. You got a beginning and you got an end. What route you take, it depends on which door you use. It may be in a former life that you were a pope or a Catholic or Muslim, a Muslim, or lived as a Muslim, but it ranges, and it depends on where you are. Some people are born into Islam, and I know have followed Islam, and have gone on to do quite well in Islam and follow the faith. And we have lots of talks and share great opinions about life and about the belief systems and stuff. So again, you got Catholics who sometimes are born into the faith, like I was. But when I grew up, for example, with me, when I was probably about 10 or 11. My mum was a devout Catholic. My dad kind of went occasionally to church. My mum went every Sunday, and obviously me and my brother would go with my mum on a Sunday. We sometimes went to Sunday school, depends on what it was. But predominantly, what sticks out in my mind about a calling for me was when I was about 10 to 11. I remember going to primary school. No, so going to secondary school. And we were given a small red pocket Bible. And I just put it into I read it and I kept it with me and I left it in my pocket. And I can tell you from the ages of 11 to the ages of 16, I've always kept that Bible in my pocket. I know this sounds really random. And every time, obviously, as a grown up and used to wear a blazer to school. So every time I got a new blazer, I would always put the Bible back in my pocket again. So it sounds really strange. So as I've left it in my pocket as we going on, and I've tried to leave it at home, for example, if I've got a new blazer and I've gone up a year, it just didn't feel right. I felt kind of like naked, not having that with me. So I put it into my pocket again. So it stayed with me. And sometimes over whatever I'm going through, I would just put my hand in my pocket and I'll pause that and I'll just read it. And there may be something going on at that time in my life, and it makes quite a good read to help me. So, but as I grew up, I came across I learned different belief systems, and I kind of decided to be an interfaith minister, so following all faiths. And my calling is, like I always say to people, people say to me, so how did you start and what did you know and how do you keep going on to follow the path? How do you know it's just not your imagination, it's just not the devil or anything like that? I just simply say to that is, it depends on your school of thought. Now, some people don't believe in the devil, some people do. Some people just believe that we make our own choices, and the negative side of us is that incarnation of the devil, and the positive side of us is the incarnation of God. But again, that's down to what you believe. What I see and what I've come across and what I believe is, for the fact is that there's a God and a living energy that is above us and all around us. And we are like a part of his tentacles, like a spider or like an octopus. And us becoming aware of ourselves spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally enhances the body or the brain, which is God. Therefore, it feeds back into that particular tendon. So if you imagine my fingers are the spider, and this is God, and then these different hands are different people, represent different people in society. Who the hand, which is God, that's why you get the hand. When there's a part in the Bible that says, "God, I am in your hands," and that's what I mean, and that's what that comes to. And if you look at all these tendons there off of this hand. And these different people, or these different people that follow the certain faith, for example, and say if one leaves and gets removed, then there's only 3 or 5, should say, or 4, should say, and then another one goes, then there's 3. But the stronger this particular finger gets, or that particular person, if this finger represents that person, it gets, the hand will use this more. So pointing, for example, touching the hand, that part of the hand, and that's the same link is where the brain, God, would go back to be aware. He's more conscious that the hand is still there, or the fingers are still there. So if one gets removed, like with us, if we lose a part of our limb, we still believe that we still have it because we still get the sensations, right? And that's the same thing as God, is that even though you're not a part of his you don't believe in him, he still acknowledges you as a part of his limb. And the other thing is, well, they say to me, how do I know if it's God talking? Well, you don't. I can't give you a telescript. I can't give you he sounds like, or she sounds like. All I can say is that it won't cause harm. It won't put your life at harm, and it won't put others' lives at harm. There's a difference from where you need to learn something, and that voice that you hear or that feeling you get puts you in a situation where you have to be challenged. There's a different scenario from where you causing harm or you going to cause harm. Sometimes and I know some people who got into crime and they will get down the path of being called, but yet they still carried on that kind of lifestyle. And they've said to me in reflection that when they're going to go and do something, wherever it was, they've gone at that point, something was telling them, don't, no. And so I say to them, what was the feeling you got? And they said, it was this feeling in the center of my chest that was like, I thought it wasn't right. What did you do? Now, some carried on and ignored it and then ended up either getting to prison or getting into trouble. Some people said no and just walked away and listened to the voice and then followed what that voice was doing. Now, I say to people, follow the breadcrumbs. That's what I do. So if I'm doing something, I want to go for and achieve something in my life, and I see the benefits of what I feel in my mind or in myself is right. There's different from how I do things and how someone else will do things. So for me, if I'm going to go and do something, especially with Karnak or with my work or working with people, I always pray about it. And I hear a lot of people say they pray about it. So I pray about it and meditate on it. And if God says, no, hold on, wait, I don't ever get a burning feeling to say, he says, no, wait, hold on, then I pull back, I just wait. Sometimes I may be working on a project, started a book, and I will write about 3, 4, 5 chapters, and then I won't touch it for about a year. Because within a year, I believe I've got to learn something in order to benefit the book as it grows. And the other thing as well is working with people, all going into different, working with people with different faiths. So I may be really heavily at one point working with Buddhism, and then I may go into Christianity, then I may go into touch into Hinduism, i.e. working with Ganesh, and then I may go off to Sikhs, and then touch on Islam. So it ranges. But predominantly you do have your main call to arms, and those call to arms are what you kind of like recognize is a massive part of you. So those are the little breadcrumbs. The other breadcrumbs you get that God puts before you would be you learning to recognize yourself, your voice, your inner voice, and his voice. And if you really drill down into that, you can see, or you would hear that inner voice that is guiding you, than opposed to that inner voice which is telling you to do harm, or the other inner voice which is kind of like not making much sense and confusing the situation. Where I work with that, if I get a conflict of interest in the voices, I don't do it. I'd rather be safe than unsafe. So I never do something in confusion, because confusion, you don't know, it's built out of really ignorance in a way, because confusion doesn't have the whole facts. So if I'm going to work with somebody, for example, and I'm not sure and I'm dilly-dallying and I'm pulling it either way, I say, no, I'm not going there, because there's a confusion for me, and that's what causes the major disruption as I go across and as I'm growing. So if you decide to listen to the confusion, you will be kind of like fall into quicksand, and it's there for you to recognize and for you to evolve and become a better person within. Because when God uses you, he uses you to help others as well, not just yourself. And remember, he's a conscious being and unconscious. So what you sense and what you feel is this energy which wraps itself around you and keeps you safe. And the only thing for me where people say, you know what, I don't feel, sometimes I'm protected by God, or I'm this, and I'm not protected by God, and I don't seem to get what I'm looking for. There's an element of where God sometimes may not give it to you because you may be not ready. It may be a learn for you that, for example, I don't know, it could be around anything. I won't use money because everyone uses money. It may be a relationship then. It may be for the fact is that there's inner stuff you need to do on yourself in order to recognize and bring in that person that wants you should really have in order to be your wife or your husband. The other aspect of that is for the fact is that if you're looking for that person and you're not recognizing your own faults in you, then how are you going to manifest that person? Why would God give you that person if you kind of recognize your own, I won't say failures, your own areas of improvement? And it doesn't mean like you got all these issues. Yeah, that's not what God's looking at. God loves a trier. So if you go to God, oh, I'm looking for someone that I could love and be with, and not to help, not to make you better, but to help you become a stronger person and for you to help them become a stronger person. I hear that so many times where people go to me, oh, I want to be with somebody because I want him to help heal me. And I go, why should they heal you? Why should they come into your life and basically you suck the life out of them, you get better, then more than likely you kick them to the curb because they've come across to heal you. The reality is like when you're there to find somebody, when God's called you, and it's just like when he's called you and you're going to him, it's an element of that. It's a selfless act. It's for the fact is that you should come into this not to be around money. Same with a partner. You're not looking at somebody who's going to have money. You're looking at somebody who makes you happy. So when you go to God, you don't go because God's going to make you wealthy or rich and so on. These are gifts God gives you. They're the inner gifts. The more you work on yourself, the more you recognize yourself and the areas of improvements that you have, and you're honest with them and you work on them, the areas that don't need improvement, that should be a reward, like the partner and all those, they will automatically come in to your life without you knowing and without you even seeing, and it will come in and you'll be glorified for that person, with that person, and God, and then always say thank you to God for them to be delivered to you. And the other thing as well is like, for me, when I first obviously met my fiance, I was in a state of change. I was constantly shifting, and I was more focused upon me understanding myself, developing myself, growing myself. And hear what I'm saying, I was growing myself. I wasn't looking for her to grow me. I was looking for God to grow me. And as a part of that, she came into my life when she was in a state of growth as well. I mean, major state of growth, not problems, but recognizing her own self. Yeah. So when you're at that part, and I can do about 25 videos based upon this subject, because I could talk for hours on it because it is so deep. And the mistakes that I see people make over and over and over again, and there's several things really. The first thing I want to point out is that when you are working on yourself and you're growing yourself and God's called you, that's when God calls you, is when you're working on yourself, because he's trying to gear you up to serve him and to serve yourself. And the more you turn around and bury your head in the sand and then want someone else to help you, again, if you're going to therapy to get help, that's fine. That's the difference, because you're working on yourself. But if you're going to therapy for them to tell you what the problem is, then it's not going to work, because the work should be done by you. The second thing is, your partner is not your therapist. Your partner is your support mechanism, not your dumping ground, not your advisor, they're not someone you just dump all your crap on and then go off and do whatever. They're there to support and be with you, and you're the same with them. So, and it's the same when you come across God. When God calls you, he'll bring all these people in, because if he's going to invest in you, right, he will bring in the right people to help build you up, build you to be strong, because he needs you to be on form. He will talk to you about your weight. He will talk to you about your job. He will talk to you about your health. He will talk to you about everything. You know, he will just appear out of nowhere and just give you these little nuggets, and it's for you to follow them breadcrumbs, because all these things make a change. And you've heard me talk about my bike recently, and it's the same. Kind of obsessed with the thing now. And again, when you're called by God, you get given stuff. And I don't want this to sound like this is what you should do just to get stuff. It's not about that. Just get you what you want. It's not about that. It's about, first port of call, first thing I do when I wake up is go, morning God, I hope everything's well, and I hope today will be a blessed day, and hope I can encourage people to see your light. If I'm going out there and I am living this life, and I am existing within this realm, and I'm being his servant, people are going to recognize something different about you. They recognize something different about me. And on the flip side to that, there's going to be a lot of people that will pull away from you, or will repel for themselves from you, or be repelled against you. And you may not even want them in your life, because as you become pure, as you go, let's say you're going to swim in the lake of godness, right? And you're washing off your sins, or you're washing off your dirt. You won't come out the bath or the shower or the lake of God and sit there next to someone smelling or someone who's dirty, would you? No, this is what the situation is. And what God does do, he kind of like pushes you into the lake kind of thing, and you don't even know you're in it. And then you're swimming about a bit. You're not drowning, don't get me wrong. You're not drowning, but sometimes it does become overwhelming. And I get this all the time from people when this has happened. And when I'm overwhelmed and there's so much stuff going on, and I know God talks to me, I can't hear him. No, yes, you can't hear him because you're too busy focusing upon this stuff going on around you. Don't get me wrong, we all do it. I still do it. But what you need to do, and I get this, you need to step back. You need to go, okay, my love and my future is in your hands, God, and give yourself to God. And the important thing is, well, for me, and everyone knows this about me, it's God, and then people start ranking down as you go forth, because I don't even check my phone in the morning without me even acknowledging God and then acknowledging my partner. It's just not for me feasible. The other thing is, well, it's like you would have this burning feeling to be pulled to preach and teach, not brainwash. There's a difference. It's a matter of to preach and teach. And sometimes you're preaching or you're teaching, maybe one-on-one, maybe in big groups, maybe through books. It could be in different facets. But brainwashing, God's not into brainwashing, does not do brainwashing. It's fake. And he's not, this isn't a club that you get into because the more people you get in, the better you look. It doesn't work that way. God will remove you. It's not about that. And my thing is, like, when I work with people and they're looking to find God, I help them, and I call myself a spiritual engineer. I connect the connection, which may be like this sometimes, and they don't seem to be connecting, but God's just there, and this person is the person, this is God, and the person's like this, trying to find him, but he's missing now. I come along and I go, and then I move away, and the link is there, and it's down to them to build, to grow. And then they may go, pull away sometimes, and then call, then God may go, oi, like he needs some help or she needs some help. Then I may come back into their life and then kind of guide them back again. Not brainwashing, but guide them back into and go, what's going on? And it could be for the fact is that they got so overwhelmed with everything that they've been enlightened because life looks so different, that they get pulled and sucked into this vacuum of shifting and acknowledgement and change. And it can be kind of tough, but that's not what God's about. God is about you being you, and he doesn't want you not to be you. He doesn't want you to be like the person up the road or anybody else. He wants you to be you. Come with you. Come. That's how he's created you. Because when you were born, you weren't born with someone else with you, apart unless you're a twin. But you were born, even if you're a twin, you're born with your own personalities. And that's what I love about twins. Twins are born at the same time, from the same womb, from the same egg, right, from the same two people, yet they're vastly different. They are different people. They don't talk at the same talk. They go off and do different things. So for me, let me just recap when God is calling you. The signs, and remember, look out for the breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs are that you have an overwhelming feeling that you're here to do something special, and that you've been called, and that you keep hearing the same thing over and over again through dreams, through people telling you that you're pulled to do something, but you don't know what it is. That's where you need to find. You can ask for help to find what you need to do. Second thing is like you will fall into, or you will be surrounded by people who are spiritual. 3, you won't be surrounded by people who are spiritual, and the people around you will annoy you, and you just want to be surrounded by, you feel different, you feel alone within a crowd. So you would want to branch away from people. Number 4 is that you will want to just be the greatest servant you can be, without fail, without compromise, without pay. You would just serve him no matter what. And 5, and finally, is like, just be you. Just be you. End of. Just be you. And my golden thing is for people around me is like, you know what, you just be you. Because if you be going to be someone else, I would sense it and feel it. God has shown me, and he has shown me, and I've revealed it to people sometimes. It's not about me trying to control them. It's about, I'm just trying to help people be a better versions of themselves. That's what God's there for. That's what God's doing with you, for you to be a better version of yourself. Whether you're going to go and be a minister, or whether you're going to be a usher in a queue in the church or wherever, but for you to just have those kind of impacts on people, he serves everybody, is equal, but just do different jobs. And that's why he's created people to do different roles in order to influence differently, or to run his a global ministry, his faiths, I should say. So I hope that's helped. If you've got any comments, or you want a bit of more info, leave comments below, and I'll see you on the next video. Stay blessed and namaste.